The last couple of weeks, folks, I have done my best to bring on experts to talk about what is actually going on in the market. I've talked to real estate agents, mortgage brokers, and to the person, all of them have said the market has gone from crickets and tumbleweeds pre-election to something very, very different. And you know what? We got our first legit economic number that validates this. Purchase applications are up 12.4% week on week and up 52% year on year. Folks, I told you, and a lot of you didn't like to hear it based on your negative feedback and your negative talk track. But Jonathan, you're in the business. What's going on the last couple of weeks post-election?
I mean, obviously rates went up, and people started I think coming to the realization that rates weren't going to come down. They were finally getting a hold of that, and so people just started buying again. And people just started buying. People just started refinancing again too, just overall cashing out. They were just saying, okay, well, we're not going to be in a situation anymore where it's unrealistically going to be 4% by the end of the year, which we're already in December now, basically. And will it be 4% in 4 weeks? Probably not. So I think people are coming to that realization, and now they're just getting past that. Okay, it's just a cost of money. Let's just get past that point and then still do what we're gonna do.
No, it's wild to think about. And again, I was talking to people Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, right after the election, and all of them were telling me their phone and emails were up 3, 4, 5x. And now we see the numbers up 12.4%. And that's with not a lot of inventory, with high rates and high prices. I think you're right. I think what's happening is people are just like accepting. It's 7 as a starter rate. Maybe with points, you get into the mid 6s. If you go adjustable, maybe you get in the 5s. But I think you're right. I think people are like, all right, I'm done waiting. I think that's what people are doing. I'm done waiting.
The market has beaten people into submission is what it is.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's beaten us into submission. And it's something we've been talking about, obviously, on the channel and just with clients in general. But it's always just the cost of capital.
Yeah, and certainly as investors, we should appreciate that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And we want this because, honestly, prices aren't spiking up like crazy. I've actually seen a lot of prices come down.
Me
right?
too.
Yeah, and across the market, and this allows for you to negotiate better, and this extends the buyer's market a little further and gives you more power.
Yeah. This is something we didn't plan for, but I actually said something. I want to run it by you. I believe that this weekend, this holiday, this 4-day weekend is going to be the best weekend of the year to find a disrespectful offers, because demand is pulled aside. And really where I want to ask you is, what do you think the chances are if somebody goes pending on a contract this weekend that they could close in December? Like they can close this calendar year. What are the odds? We're talking 70, 80% they get it done, or we lower than that?
I think it's actually probably 70%. I don't think it's lower than that, just because people are going to be rushing. I mean, I've seen it, right? Especially builders, new builds, right? Especially clients that just need to clean their books prior to the end of the year and they just want to offload. Like, people are going to be rushing for. I'm seeing a lot of 21-day escrows, a lot of 14-day escrows. Come in. So I'm seeing it kind of actively build up that way.
Yeah, and the point of the question is this is like the last weekend where you have a decent shot at closing by the end of the year. Like if I were to ask you this question 7 days from now, the odds are going to drop from 70%. And then if we go another weekend, they're really going to drop.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah, it's holiday season, right? I mean, people already now, like today, they're going to start checking out starting noon-ish.
Yeah.
And then Thursday's gone, and then Friday, some people are open, like we're open, but most people aren't. So that's another day gone. So then you roll into Monday, everyone's catching up for the last 4 days, so this is kind of like a vicious cycle of the holidays. And then you got Christmas coming up, which is the biggest holiday. So it's coming up.
Yeah. So it's pretty interesting. All right. Well, let's talk about something that came across my radar there. This is prepays. I'm actually hearing from some investors, they're being offered slightly lower rates, but they have to sign up for a 5-year prepay. I know you guys have a product with a 1-year prepay, but let's just start with 5 years. This is what I'm hearing. Again, you're in the business, so tell me if what I'm hearing is wrong or right. Right now, let's assume you could get, a base rate of 7%. We're just going to use round numbers, 7%. If you're willing to sign up for a 5-year prepay, you're going to get a lower rate because they got 5 years of guaranteed income. So let's say with a 5-year prepay, they could get 6.5. Does that kind of feel within the realm of possibilities?
Yeah, I'd say it's within the realm.
Yeah. So let me answer this question. If somebody asked me, this is exact, Michael, would you sign up for a 5-year prepay? The answer is no. I mean, the longest prepay I've signed up for has been 3 years, and I got almost a full point delta. This was years ago. I think in the environment we are in today, a 5-year prepay is really ridiculous, especially for half a point, right? If it was a full point, a point and a quarter, we could at least have that discussion. But I mean, just think about it, folks. A 5-year prepay is into the next presidency, right? We will have another national election before that prepay is over. And who knows where the economy will be 5 years from now. So I don't see any logic in a 5-year prepay, but maybe I'm wrong. What do you see out there, Jonathan?
Well, it's like we talked about, right? I mean, the loan amount sizes are kind of the biggest thing, right? If it's a smaller loan, right, and you could take a 5-year prepay and lock it in for longer, like that's fine. But most of the people, it's really, then I come on the flip side and ask, okay, well, let's call it a $200,000 loan. Let's say starting rate, like you said, it's more like a 7% at like a 5-year or whatever, whatever it is, just as a baseline. And then let's say you're, instead of doing a 5-year prepay where it drops to 6.7, 6.8, whatever it ends up dropping to, we take it to a 1-year prepay and it goes up maybe to 7.1, 7.2, which is our Wall Street product actually has such a small variance between a 5-year to 1-year that I tell clients like, hey, it seems worse right now, but you will be thanking yourself in a year or 2 or 3 years when the rates come down, trickle down. You're going to be able to refinance out. And the difference in payment, if you're talking about, let's say, $1 million loan, it might be a little bigger, but the difference in payment in most people's loans, which is like 200,000 to 300,000, between a 7 or a 6.8, 6.7 versus a 7.1, 7.2, that difference is not that big.
Yeah,
right?
it's nothing on a small loan.
$100, right? So is it better to just take a shorter prepay for the opportunity that everyone's under the same understanding that rates will be lower come, that time? Or is it going to be better to, kind of try to lock something in now and be stuck in it and pay a prepay later?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's all things to kind of look at and think about. Prepays are interesting. Again, I look at the economy every day and I don't feel good about calling next year, let alone 5 years from now. Right. That's just wild. So the payment difference would have to be pretty substantial for me to even consider 3 years, let alone 5 years. Let's talk about short-term loans. It does appear, at least in my personal network, more and more people are re-engaging and doing flips, right? There's certainly more activity buying at a discount. A lot of these guys are doing short-term loans. What are you seeing out there around ARMs?
I mean, we're writing a lot of ARMs right now just because twofold. I don't know if you short-term you meant like bridge loans, but we're writing a lot of those. Yeah, shorter-term loans like ARMs. So for ARMs, we are seeing them become more popular because one, a lot of them that we're writing don't have a prepayment penalty, and two, the rates are actually a lot lower. I think 2 weeks ago we kind of talked about the spread, but like for example, 5-year ARM DSCR, if your debt coverage ratio covers and everything, like I'm still buying down into the 5s, right?
What? In the 5s?
Yeah, in the 5s for a 5, 3 or 1 year, like however long your timeline is. If you think about it more of like almost like a bridge loan, I guess, in an ARM sense that you're going to refinance in the next 1 year or 2 years, you can get it down to the 5s, or you can take it at par, which is like, I don't know, mid-low 6s, and take it there and get that cash flow going and then refinance out of it when you can get a 6 something on a 30-year fixed again.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of things going on in the mortgage market. That's why I'm glad that Convoy is here each and every week, because it's just always changing, right? It'll be very interesting to see what happens in Q1 of next year, because again, there are kind of calls all over the map. But I love the fact that you'll be coming back. I am curious. You talk to Wall Street a lot.
Mhm.
What's been Wall Street's, I don't know, temperature post-election? Was Wall Street surprised by who won? Is Wall Street, it doesn't really matter? What are the guys on Wall Street saying?
Wall Street is pumping. Obviously, as you've seen, the stock market's been pumping. Yields have been pumping. It's down today, but it was pumping. And I think that everyone is kind of waiting to see how the exchange of hands happen,
Mm,
right? And see how much, whether Trump can actually bully Powell or not bully
mm,
Powell, what
mm,
kind of push he can have. Everyone's kind of in a, I think, in a standstill pattern in the sense of the mortgage market sense, just because um, the yields have changed, but they haven't changed that much through this year, right?
right.
So everyone is still in the same, they're all trading within the same weighted average coupon bucket. So it hasn't really moved yet, but I think that everyone's kind of expecting the market to be this in this bucket for a little bit, which is why they're pricing a lot. They've already priced in a lot of things into the market. And I think
Yeah.
going into next year with the change of hands and seeing how Powell actually responds to Trump's pressure, which his pressure of inflationary policies, which, that's what's kind of rolling in. We'll see how that kind of plays out, and everyone's waiting for that kind of conversation to start happening. And I think the market
Yeah.
will react heavily, beginning of whenever after the inauguration, once Trump, I believe he's going to go in there and start signing executive orders like, he says he will. If he does
Nice.
that, then if that happens, then the market's going to start reacting. That's, I think, where Wall Street's kind of watching right now.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's no doubt there will be plenty of executive orders signed on January 20th. It'll be interesting which ones actually get signed. So again, I think a lot of folks are back to the early part of the conversation. I think people are like, they're glad the election's over, right? That part of the year is over. They're generally getting into the holiday spirit, right? We got Thanksgiving tomorrow, Christmas shortly thereafter, New Year's, and people, I think generally speaking, are hopeful for the next year or so. So it's going to be interesting to watch. Jonathan, if people wanted to reach out to you and Convoy, how do they do that?
Go to cowboyhomeloans.com and let us know you came from more at.
There you go, folks. And I want to find this because I paid for this. There we go.
There you go.
Convoyhomeloans.com. Click on ORAT. You got to tell them you came from ORAT. If you don't, you just end up with the plebes in the stands. You want to end up with the man, myth, the legend, Jonathan, and or his partner, Dustin. So please tell me you came from ORAT. That would be great. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you.